Okay, we made it. Look, every single time I do one of these webinars, I freak out a little bit because if you could see behind the scenes here, there's cords and wires and all sorts of things going on. But I can see that there's 33 participants here at the moment, which is fantastic. Please do me a favor. If you can hear this audio and it's coming through clearly, can you just send some love hearts up in the corner or some form of, okay, awesome. Perfect. I do also want to apologize. I usually do have a microphone and the sound quality is a little bit clearer. Unfortunately, it did decide to pack up on me tonight, so you're just going to have to deal with this. Um, Less than preferable audio, but the most important thing tonight isn't the audio itself, it's what I'm going to be delivering to you. And thank you so much for being here tonight. If you have joined in on any of my other webinars, I hope that you were able to extract some form of value from it. I understand that sometimes when it comes to achieving a goal or learning a new skill, learning some new knowledge, sometimes you've got to hear it more than once for it to really sink in. Okay. So, look, I really do want to ask you all to do me a favor. I can see that there's, 40 plus participants here at the moment. If you have joined in on this webinar, I know that it was extremely late notice. I do ask that if you were somebody who is really genuinely trying to lose weight and you're, exhausted with the merry-go-round of fad diets and how they can make you feel and the confusion that it can bring to you, I really do ask that you take this 45 minutes to an hour and really listen to what I have to say to you. Even get yourself a pad and pen because everything I give to you tonight is the correct path that you do need to follow, not only to lose weight, but to keep it off. This is something that I really do want to get through. This is the message that I want to send home. We're not about fad diets at the Mitch Little Academy. We're not about quick fixes. We're here to help women lose weight and keep it off. So you can go on through life and focus on other things that are a little bit more exciting. It breaks my heart to think that there are women who are waking up every single day, being confused by what they see on social media, waking up every single day thinking about your weight, going to bed every single night, thinking about losing weight. I think that that whole process can become very tiring, and I don't think that that's what life's meant to be about. So, truthfully, the reason why many of you aren't having success with fat loss at the moment is probably because you're following the wrong path. You've been given the wrong advice, and it's something that's working against you and not for you. Okay, so that is something that we want to avoid. We want to set you up on the right path. And I'm hoping that the information I give you tonight is going to do exactly that. Can I get some love hearts up in the corner if you're excited to hear what I have to say? I hope you are, because I know that these small tips can transform your health, which can transform your life, which I think is amazing. Okay. Now, I've called and look, just a little bit of a disclaimer. The way that my brain works is I don't function very well if I script things. Okay. So if I wrote out like a big seminar, sorry, a big webinar tonight and I had to read it out to you, I'm not the world's best reader. I'm quite dyslexic in many, many ways. So it wouldn't really make any sense and it would be extremely boring as well. I'm really going to try to not bore you. All right. That's a very important aspect of tonight's webinar. We've got to keep things light. We've got to keep it fresh because I think that's the only way that we as human beings can absorb information. I don't want to be that boring teacher at school. So I've called tonight's webinar the 14-day weight loss blueprint for women 40 plus. Another disclaimer. Although I've called this the 14-day weight loss blueprint for women 40 plus, the information that I provide for you tonight is applicable to everyone. It truly is. I just want to say that in case, there are some women watching this who are under 40. There may be even a few random blokes out there too. Happy to help everybody. And another reason why I've given it a 14-day blueprint is I think that there are so many people who think long-term thought sometimes can be a little bit overwhelming at the start. So if we can narrow all of the fundamentals, into a 2 week period and get you to focus on having success over 2 weeks, I believe that that is like the first stepping stone to having long-term success. Because sometimes if somebody has a weight loss goal and you think about how long potentially it may take for you to achieve that goal, can be a little bit disheartening and the reward just seems too far away. But again, even with all of that, I'm hoping to change your mindset. What I would like to achieve from tonight's webinar is to give you a better relationship with food. I would like to give you a better understanding as to how to weigh yourself. I want to give you a different outlook on health, fitness, weight loss, and weight management altogether. Because the one issue that you may be having at the moment is you are continuously viewing weight loss and weight management as a diet instead of a lifestyle. This creates a very short-term effect, and I can guarantee you that you may have done this a lot of times already, and you just don't get any long-term success from that. So we're going to try and fix that. So, like I said, I recommend that you do grab yourself a pad and pen because I will be saying a few things that may be worth writing down. Also, this will be shared at some point on my YouTube as well if you do want to go and have a look back at it then. But still, stay here for the full live version. We're going to have a lot of fun. So, as I said, I've written a few things down and I'm calling this first phase of the seminar phase one. And I've titled it, You've Got to Believe in Yourself. As cheesy as that sounds, you have to believe in yourself. In fact, I'll go as far to say that unless you can approach this 1 hour webinar with the belief in yourself that you can lose weight, you may as well not be here. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. A massive trap, unfortunately, that many women fall into is the assumption that I cannot lose weight. Okay? Put your hand up or show me some love hearts up in the corner if you've said that so yourself. I can't lose weight. I have tried absolutely everything. I am stuck. Nothing works. I'm doomed to never lose 1 more kilo ever again. I can see some love hearts going up right now. So we've got a few guilty members there. We have to look at that from a scientific standpoint. To say that I cannot lose weight is saying that I'm a scientific anomaly. Okay. I am the only human being in the existence of living that can't lose weight. It goes against many, many laws of thermodynamics. So we have to change our mindset. I don't know about you, but I can put my hand up and be guilty of this as well for certain other things in my life. If I tell myself in my mind that, hey, I can't lift that weight or I don't think I can run around the block, whatever the case may be, I am approaching it with a mindset of like failure already. When you approach something with that, I can't do this or I'm broken, you are going to make sure that you don't succeed because you won't follow the steps necessary and you won't stick around long enough to show yourself that you're going to have success. So we need to change our mindset from I can't to I can. And if you can do that, you're straight away going to put yourself in a much more powerful position to have success with weight loss and weight management. It isn't about focusing on perfection either. Okay. I like to be a little bit perfect for a short period of time, just so you can prove to yourself that you can do it. But when we expand the horizon and start thinking a little bit more long term, which we will get into, this is when you have to forget about perfection because the runway of life is never going to allow that to happen. All right. So you're all still with me, okay, which is fantastic. You're all still with me. So you're telling me that you believe that you can lose weight, and that is fantastic. Perfect start, okay? Now, phase two is establishing your calories. How many times have you heard a personal trainer or a fitness influencer online talk about a calorie deficit or establishing your calories? I have to admit, every single time I say it, I want to punch myself in the face because I've said it 1,000 times and it starts to be a little bit boring because it's that same old drum. But ladies, establishing your calorie deficit is crucial to lose weight because if we're not in a consistent calorie deficit, we will never lose weight. And you may be able to listen to me saying that right now and think to yourself, all right, well, I have been sitting at the same weights for weeks, months, or maybe years. Okay, I'm not in a calorie deficit. Let's fix that right now. But first of all, we want to understand what is a calorie deficit. And I'm just going to use myself as an example. So please don't take these figures away and work with them for yourself. I'm 37 years old. I'm 187 centimeters. I'm a male, and I'm about 88 kilos. So, based off all of that information, my maintenance calories, for me to maintain my current weight, I need to consume about 3,500 calories. Okay. For me to lose weight, I've got to put myself into a calorie deficit, which means I will remove 500 calories from my maintenance on a daily basis. 3,000 calories every single day is what is going to give me successful fat loss. And the expected rate of fat loss is anywhere from sort of zero point 0.5 to 1 kilo a week. So that is what our calorie deficit is. You need to know yours. I'm going to sneeze, ladies. See, this is what happens on live air. I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not. It's gone. Okay. So you need to establish your calorie deficit. What I want you to do after this webinar is please go to my landing page, Mitch Little Academy. Just search it on Google. Hopefully, only good things pop up. On my landing page, I've got a macro calculator. Type in your information, and we'll give you your calories for successful fat loss. One thing I will say is please make sure that you be very honest with the information that you do provide. If you're not running marathons every single week, please don't say that. All right. We're not impressed. For us to give you accurate calories for fat loss, you need to put in your right information. Okay. So a calorie deficit is crucial. To have successful fat loss and continuous fat loss, we need to make sure that we are continuously following our calorie deficit at a consistent enough basis. An issue, unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they follow a calorie deficit for a few days and then they don't, and then they do, and then they don't. And the inconsistencies are like this. And that's what leads somebody to thinking that, hey, I can't lose weight. Whereas in actual fact, it wasn't the calorie deficit that was the problem. It was the individual's adherence to the calorie deficit. Okay. By the way, I don't want you to shoot the messenger. Everything I'm saying tonight is factual, and the reason I'm saying it to you is because I want you to have success. I'm not necessarily here to make friends or tell you what you want to hear. As a coach, I need to tell our clients what they need to hear. Okay. Is everybody still with me? I can see that nobody's dropped off. Okay, which is fantastic. We are on a roll, ladies. You've now told yourself that you can lose weight. Fantastic. So your mindset has changed already. We've established that you're going to go and get your calories from my landing page. That is a fantastic start, establishing your calorie deficit. We are on fire. I'm excited. Now, phase three, education. Ugh. Is it just me? Or when you get a little bit older, learning new things, it can be quite difficult, can't it? The resistance. It's like we've only got so much room in our minds to learn things. And the second that somebody tries to teach you something else, it can be tough. Okay. I've done this a lot in the last few years. I have had to climb a lot of ladders and learn a lot. Even this webinar setting it up, I never thought I could do it, but I taught myself. So we can do this. But education, ladies, around nutrition, trust me, this is your superpower. This is what is going to unlock your ability to lose weight, to remove food guilt, to have the ability to go off your meal plan for a little bit whilst you go away for the weekend and not feel guilty about it. Understanding nutrition, understanding food is a superpower. And in the next 5 or so minutes, you're going to be much more armed when it comes to this topic. Okay. When we look at successful fat loss, we want to look at what am I eating? Am I eating nutrient dense foods or am I eating low nutrient dense foods? I'm going to keep this extremely simple. And if you can admit that you already know this after I've explained it to you, send some love hearts up in the corner because I think most people know what I'm talking about. A nutrient dense food, I like to explain as adult decisions. lean cuts of meat, fresh fruit, veggies, grains, dairy, things like that. Adult choices. Put some love hearts up in the corner if that makes sense to you when I say that nutrient-dense foods are adult choices. We all know what they are. Let's be honest. We don't have to lie to each other anymore. We know this. Now, the great thing about nutrient-dense foods, and this is going to completely blow your mind when I say this. The amazing thing about nutrient-dense foods is they offer a large food volume for very few calories. Now, this is very, very important when it comes to fat loss because would we rather eat lots of food or not a lot of food? I can guarantee you nobody likes to be hungry. So by eating nutrient-dense food, we're eating high food volume for low calories. Very, very important. Now, the difference between high nutrient dense food and low nutrient dense food is we're looking at the exact opposite. Let's think of low nutrient dense food as childish decisions. Okay. We're talking about chocolate, chips, soft drink, cakes, biscuits, or cookies for my US audience, alcohol. All of these foods offer a small food volume for very high calories. Now, this is why, for example, you can eat a whole packet of chips and still be hungry. I like to use this one example as a comparison between nutrient-dense foods and low nutrient-dense foods. 2.2 kilos of potatoes contains about 1,000 calories. 170 grams worth of potato chips, which you can nearly hold in your hand and munch down on whilst you're watching Below Deck or The Real Housewives of Melbourne or whichever one's up at the moment. My wife's watching one. I think it's like The Real Housewives of like Orange County. I don't know. You can eat a whole packet of chips and still be hungry. And this is why you may sometimes say to yourself, I don't know what's going on. I'm not eating very much food, but I'm gaining weight. This is why. But here comes the relationship with food part, okay? We can't look at any food as being a fat gain food or a bad food because there's no such thing. We have to form a good relationship with food. So when we eat things, we don't feel guilty for it. But the best way to lose weight and have success with even weight management is just to think about your ratios. 90% of what goes into you should be nutrient dense food. The other 10%, it can be whatever you want. That might look like a couple pieces of chocolate after dinner whilst you're watching TV. This might be the one glass of wine that you have on the weekend with a girlfriend that you don't need to feel guilty about. If you have the ratios right, you're always going to have success. It's impossible to gain weight through eating lean cuts of meat, fruits, veggies. It's not going to happen. But it is very easy to blow out on your calories when you're eating too many packets of chips, eating too much candy, lollies, drinking too much alcohol. These things add up very, very quickly. They don't fill you up and they provide you with no energy. Could I please get some love hearts up in the corner if you understand the difference between low nutrient dense food and high nutrient dense food? Fantastic. So 90% nutrient dense food, 10% low nutrient dense food. This gives you the best of both worlds. Weight loss, weight management, great relationship with food. You're not going to feel guilty. Okay. The reason why this is so important, ladies, is because I can't have you following a meal plan and then because you've got a negative relationship with food, you have a couple pieces of chocolate after dinner one night, and then you tell yourself that you're the worst person in the world. You've made a bad choice. Those two pieces of chocolate are going to make you fat. And then what do? You say, I'll stuff it. I may as well eat the whole deck. You cannot live a life of perfection. You have to let some of that good stuff in. We're human beings. It is okay to enjoy a piece of chocolate. It is okay to enjoy a glass of wine. We are human beings. It can't be rigid. It can't be perfect all the time. And that's why I say, just as long as you've got the ability to commit to a lifetime of being consistently average, you are going to win. We having fun, ladies? I hope so. I hope so. Now, a little bit more education. I'm going to keep this really simple. Macronutrients. I'm sure that you've heard of that before. Macronutrients are what is the building blocks of our nutrition. Okay, simple. Macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Okay. When we're talking things protein, lean cuts of meat, yogurt, eggs, fish, etc., carbohydrates, potato, pasta, breads, fats, olive oil, nuts, avocados, etc. Just so you have a base understanding of macronutrients, protein and carbohydrates both have got about 4 calories per gram, whereas fats have got 9 calories per gram. Now, remember, we've got a good relationship with food. Neither of these are good or bad. But when we're constructing ourselves a meal plan, remember, we want to have the ability to put as much food on the plate as we can for as few calories as we can. So we always want to start with protein. Why? It protects your lean muscle mass. It's the most satiating macronutrient, keeps you very full, and it's even got a high thermic effect. So basically, when you eat more protein, your body actually has to burn more calories to digest it. So it's kind of this really cool superpower. Ladies, please write this down. I want you to consume at least 1.5 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Okay. You don't really need to know that. It is good to know, but the macro calculator that we give you, it's going to tell you how much protein you've got to have anyway. Okay. So protein, good for your lean muscle mass, keeps you full, good thermic effect. You've got to burn more calories just to digest it. We've then got things like carbohydrates. Ladies, carbohydrates do not make you fat. They do not make you put on body fat. I've got to be very, very clear with that. Okay. I don't even want you to question it. I don't want you to go Google afterwards and be like, "Does Mitch really right about that? I'm sure carbs make you fat." They don't. Carbohydrates are fantastic. They give you energy, and even a nice carbohydrate-based meal at nighttime, it can give you a better night's sleep. And ladies, I don't need to tell you that sleep during perimenopause and menopause, it's kind of shitty, and anything that we can do to improve our sleep is going to be a massive benefit. Okay. So don't be afraid of carbs. And then we've got things like fats. Like I said, we do want to reduce those a little bit more, but they're fantastic for hormone health and everything. So you don't have to avoid them. You just want to reduce them. Okay. So you've got a base understanding of macronutrients now, which is fantastic. You don't, like I said, you don't really need to know it, but I just want to give you, I just want to answer some of your questions here because I think that the word macros gets thrown around a lot and people don't really understand what they are. Pretty simple. Macros are just a fancy word for carbs, protein, and fats. Okay. Now, what do we do with this? Put some love hearts up in the corner if you've got to the stage right now where you're like, well, that's fantastic, but what do I do with this? This is when things fall onto you, okay? You have to do a little bit of work here, but I'm going to try and keep things really simple for you. I don't want you to get bombarded with too much information, so I'm going to keep this very, very basic, okay? I've got no idea why that camera just zoomed in on me either. So, the first thing that we want to establish is meal structure. Meal structure is very important. How many meals do I want to eat? Do I like breakfast? Maybe not. Maybe I'm more of a brunch, lunch, and dinner person. Whatever the case may be, I want you to construct 3 main meals. Okay. Just for argument's sake, we're going to go breakfast, lunch, dinner. You're going to construct 3 main meals and you're going to keep them extremely simple. You're not going to overthink things. You're not going to make it complicated. You're not going to try and get that fancy goat's cheese from the peak of Mount Everest that you think you've got to eat to lose fat. We do not have to do that. You're going to think of basic, whole food, nutrient dense products. Okay. I'm just going to throw an example out there. This doesn't mean you have to eat it. This doesn't mean it's going to be the specific calories to you, but I just want to get the wheels turning a little bit for you. Breakfast could be something like a few eggs on toast with a side of fruit. Fantastic. We've ticked off some protein, some carbs, some fats, some fiber. Things are looking great. Lunch. Maybe you want to have yourself a chicken salad wrap. Remember, keeping the fats a little bit lower so we can increase the food volume and keep the calories down. Just as an example, some people go and make themselves a chicken salad, but then they go and throw nuts on top and avocado and dressing. Too many fats are going to blow out your calories, and that can be a really, really secret killer when it comes to weight gain. Okay. So something like a simple chicken wrap with a little bit of low-fat mayonnaise. How simple is that? Wash it down with a sugar-free soft drink while you're at it. Dinner could be something as simple as some steamed veg, some roast potato, and some form of protein. It could be a piece of fish, it could be some steak, it could be some chicken, whatever you like. Again, we have to make sure that we get the weights and everything right as well. You cannot exceed your calories. In terms of your calories, you can use apps like MyFitnessPal. This is a really great app that you can use to actually track your calories to make sure that you're not going over. Okay. So you're going to construct yourself three main meals. You're then going to look at some snacks as well. Okay. You could look at something like protein yogurts. You could have some fruit. You could have some beef jerky. You can have some saladas. Again, select some snacks that you can fit in between your meals, but make sure that it doesn't go over your calories. Now, I highly recommend, and this is what we do with our clients, and I want you to do it as well. Those meals that you construct yourself for the week, you want to follow those for 7 whole days. Now, before you completely lose your minds, hear me out. Do you want to make fat loss easy, or do you want to make it complicated? Think about this. If you were to create a different breakfast, a different lunch, a different dinner every single day, what does your meal prep look like? What does your grocery bill look like? It's an outrageous amount of preparation and cooking and thinking and planning. It's too much. Why not keep things simple? Eat those meals for 7 days, remove all variables, see the success that you have at the end of the week, and then you say to yourself, you know what? That was actually quite easy. I didn't die. I was able to eat the same 7 meals for 7 days straight. Not that bad. Made my life easier. And look at the results I had. Rinse and repeat. From there, you can look at the next week and construct yourself another three main meals with your snacks. Or, personally, what I like to do is just change one of the meals. Hey, I love my breakfast. I love my lunch. Maybe I'll just make a different dinner. That's what I do. That's what Risk does. That's what our clients do. It keeps things really simple. Or you can construct yourself a whole new meal plan and go from there. The point that I would like to bring across to you is that the more variables that you can remove, the easier you are going to have when it comes to losing fat. Introducing too many variables makes it really hard. I don't feel like having my lunch today. Maybe I'll just go through the drive-through. It doesn't matter. I'm sure things will be fine. I'm not going to cook my dinner tonight. Maybe I'll just whip something else up. When you start to deviate from a plan, this is when you're going to run into trouble in terms of having that successful, consistent fat loss. Okay. I want you to think of a meal plan as training wheels. You follow a meal plan consistently enough, you get into the swing of things. Meal prep's easy, grocery shopping's easy. I don't have to think about too much. And then as time goes on, hey, I don't think I really need to weigh my food anymore because I just know that what I've got on my plate, it's pretty close to the calories I need. You're following a meal plan because, you end up looking at nutrition panels as well. Like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that there was that many calories in that. It opens your mind up and it makes you more aware of what you're actually doing. Following a meal plan is a period of learning. I don't weigh my food anymore. haven't for a very long time. Riss doesn't weigh her food, hasn't for a very long time. You collect enough data and confidence through knuckling down with the program and following it. This is where you have fat loss success, and this is where you learn. Does all of that make sense, everybody? Pop some love hearts up in the corner if the thought of just keeping your week far more simple and structured is just it has to take the weight off your shoulders. It really does. And the other amazing thing about this too, ladies, is it removes a lot of food noise and decision fatigue. How many times have you sort of woken up and thought, "Oh gosh, I don't know what I'm having for breakfast. Oh, I've got no idea what I'm having for lunch. Shit, what are we having for dinner?" You're guessing. You're guessing the whole thing, and you can't do that unless you're planning things to a certain degree and following structure. You just can't have success. It'd be no different to like a financial plan or a business plan, writing a book. There has to be some structure for you to have success. Okay. Now, that's the kind of nuts and bolts of what I want you to do in terms of like, you know your calories, macronutrients, you know the difference between nutrient dense foods. We now want to look at some of the more, what's the word I'm looking for, ladies? Let me have a think. This is what happens when you don't prepare things, but this is how my brain works. We now need to look at more of the behavioral side of things, okay? Because this is really important because it is so easy to tell ourselves lies, talk ourselves out of things. We're really good at that. I know I am. I'm great at doing that with certain things. So the first thing that I want you to look at is you've got your meals now. All right. Where's my structure? I have to implement some rules. We need rules as as a society to function. No different with ourselves when it comes to our eating. Here's the best thing to do. And there are going to be some variants with this, depending on each individual. But I just want to throw a blanket over this whole thing and just give you the basics. You need to set yourself structured eating times and stick to them. You need to commit to them. I'm going to have my breakfast at this time. I'm going to have my lunch at this time. I'm going to have my dinner at this time. And your snacks, you can put those wherever you want. You can have them in between meals. You might be somebody who wants to save all of your snacks for the evening, eat them whilst you're watching TV. It doesn't matter. But the great thing about setting up those boundaries and those structures with the eating times is you eat at those meal times and only at those meal times because you've got to set yourself up some defenses. Okay. There has to be boundaries because what is stopping you from having your breakfast, but then on the way to work, pulling into McDonald's and getting a McFrappe, which has got 1,000 calories? What is stopping you from after you eat your lunch? You just decide to snack on the little biscuit jar, okay, in the lunchroom at work. I know how this works, ladies. I was a teacher's aide for 2 years at a special school. I know how those lunchroom cookie jars can just empty and go down several times a day. You have to give yourself structured eating times and you've got to commit to it. Okay. The one of the biggest things when it comes to successful fat loss is our willpower. Okay. Again, it's not what a lot of people want to hear, but it's truly what you do need to hear. I don't want to lie to you. I don't want to give you this like amazing revolutionary secret that makes everything easier. Because the reality is, learning how to do this properly, it can take a little bit of work. But the beautiful thing is that if you implement that self-discipline, that structure, that self-accountability, and you practice it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, that part of you, that part of your soul or your mind or your being, whatever you want to call it, it is just like a muscle. You need to develop it. It gets stronger. Willpower and discipline, it gets stronger. So you want to give yourself those structured eating times. Now, remember, we're kind of focusing this very much into like a 2 week window. So I have spoken before about strategies on eating out. I have spoken about strategies of what should you do if you want to go off your meal plan. These are things that I don't necessarily want to cover tonight because what I want every single one of you women who are tuning in tonight is to, once you have established your calories, once you have established your meal plans, I need you to promise yourself, I am committing to this for 14 days straight. I'm committing to this for 14 days straight because I need to prove to myself that I can. I need to prove to myself that I can lose weight. I need to prove to myself that I'm not broken. I need to prove to myself that this is a skill that I can learn, develop, and continue to follow. Unfortunately, the issue is with many people when it comes to a fat loss goal is we hear webinars like this. You see a motivational speech on Instagram or a really amazing transformation picture, and you go, you know what? I'm so motivated. I'm going to do this. But it lasts 3.5 hours. Here's something that you need to understand. The reason a lot of people don't feel motivated with the fat loss goal is because you've genuinely got no reason to be motivated. Why? We're driven by results. We are motivated by results. If you went to work for a week and you didn't see any paycheck come in, well, I'm not going back there. I'm not going back to work. I'm not getting paid. We're motivated by results. So if you can commit to something for 14 days and see an amazing result, this is exactly what's going to happen. Okay. And I can tell you right now, ladies, what you can expect after a 14-day period is a fat loss result anywhere from 1 kilo to 2 kilo. For anywhere from 1 to 2 kilos, you'll lose. You may even lose a little bit more weight for some, because in the initial stages of fat loss, we don't only lose body fat, we actually lose a lot of water weight as well. So the first 14 days of a fat loss plan governs that you follow it consistently and you commit to it. You are going to see some incredible fat loss results, and you're going to be so incredibly motivated that the thought of not doing it seems ridiculous. I want to share just one quick story while we're here in terms of amazing weight loss results and how motivating it can be. We had a client, we still have a client, her name is Renelle. When she signed up, her exact words were, I do not believe that I can get below 75 kilos. I've never been able to do it. Well, at least for the years leading up to. She hadn't been able to do it and she thought she was broken. She has lost 20 kilos over a 35-week period, following the same principles, the same structure that I'm telling you right now tonight. She committed to it for 14 days. She saw the results. She kept going. And this is what I want for all of you. I do not want you to, like I said, wake up every single morning and think about weight loss. I don't want you to go to bed feeling uncomfortable or lacking confidence or feeling like you need to improve your fitness. I want you to act on it. 5 years from now, it's going to be harder. 10 years from now, it's going to be harder. There is no better time than now to get this sorted. And ladies, this is my business. This is how I make a living. Okay. Of course, you'd expect me to say these things, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I want you to do this for you. I want you to improve your health. Over the last few years, just watching my wife go through perimenopause and seeing how much of a struggle everything can be, both physically and mentally for women, for myself to think, but what if you don't have the education that we have? What if you are being misled by things on social media? How much more difficult and heartbreaking that whole process can be. I don't want this to be you. Everybody sitting in this webinar tonight, there's absolutely no reason why you can't leave tonight with a much better path. Oh, That was motivating. I mean it too. All right, I do mean it. Mind me 1 second, ladies. I'm getting very parched. Ah, sorry about that sound. Okay, there's one more important thing that I need to cover. It is weighing yourself. Ladies, again, please, pad and pen. I'm going to give you 10 seconds right now to make sure that you've got something in front of you or your phone because I need you to write this down. Because if you don't know how to weigh yourself, this is one of the biggest reasons why people don't succeed with a fat loss goal. Okay? All right, let's go. We're all smart, smart enough to understand this. The human body is not just made up of body fat. We've got skin, we've got muscle, we've got bones, and we are realistically just a big, walking, functioning blob of water. How do we do it? We're just a blob of water functioning through the world. That is what we are. So it's only fair to assume that we can't jump on the scales all the time and see a weight loss result. That'd be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Depending on your hydration levels, you are going to weigh a different weight. Depending on your digestive timing, you are going to see a different weight. Depending on that time of the month, ladies, my gosh, your luteal phase, you're going to see an increase of weight. Does this mean body fat? No. So this is so important for you to understand. Even during a successful calorie deficit, I'm talking you're weighing your food, you're following your structured meals, you're not eating outside of your eating times, you're doing everything to the T, you are still going to see scale fluctuations. But this doesn't mean that you're not losing body fat. Body fat's continuously going down. These other spikes, they're just variations from what I just spoke about. So this is how you have success with weight loss with the scales. Every single morning, you are going to wake up, strip down, go to the toilet. Okay. Do whatever you got to do. You're then going to jump on the scales, weigh yourself, record it. You're not going to get fixated on what you see on a daily basis. You're not going to jump on the scales on Monday morning, see 70 kilos, get on the scales on Wednesday and see 70.8 and freak out. No, you're going to keep on getting up and you're going to weigh yourself every single morning on an empty stomach. At the end of the week, you're going to add up all of your morning weights, divide that number by 7, and this is going to give you your weekly average weight. This is the number that you want to focus on. Now, just as long as you're seeing that average weight drop over a 14-day period, not 1 day period, you know that you are in a successful calorie deficit. So, ladies, I'm not sure that if you've ever seen me share our client success stories and I put up their weight loss graph, it is never one straight line down. You can see the drops, you can see the little plateaus, you can see the little increases. But when you look at their success, for example, let's say a 5 to 10 kilo weight loss success over a 10-week period, which is our average weight loss for our clients, you'll see that it just gradually does go down. And the great thing about weighing in regularly is you can look back on your data and go, oh my gosh, I remember that day that I completely freaked out about my weight. But I was at this stage of my cycle. Or maybe I ate dinner at a later time. My digestive system's not so great at the moment. Sleep quality impacts water retention. So there's so many variations that you have to look at, and understanding the scales is going to give you that best success. Could I just get some love hearts up in the corner if I actually just taught you something about weighing in and being more confident in that department? I'm loving that. Okay. Heaps of love hearts are popping up there, which tells me that you all have got a much better relationship with weighing in now. So, ladies, you're all going to have success over a 14-day period. I genuinely do believe that the majority of us, we can commit to that. I don't want you to think any further ahead at the moment besides these 14 days. But when you get to the end of those 14 days, I then need you to come to a very, very important realization. And this may be something that nobody has ever told you before. Weight loss and weight management are exactly the same. The only difference really between weight loss and weight management is weight management, you just increase your calories a little bit more. So you're not in a deficit, you're in maintenance calories. But the principles, the habits, the actions, the structures, all of those tools that we use to lose weight, we still harness them to make sure that we can have success with weight management. All those little micro decisions that we make on a daily basis is what gives us success. Okay. It's just like weight gain. Weight gain doesn't happen overnight. It's the accumulation for the most part of months and years of, for a lack of a better word, just switching off and being on autopilot. So instead of thinking, okay, I'm on a fat loss diet, no, you're not. You're just following the principles that every human being should follow to have success with weight management, to be healthy, to feel energized, to look after your longevity. That's what we're doing. Weight management isn't a diet. Weight loss isn't a diet. It's a lifestyle. And this is what I want you all to start to get your minds around and kind of just change the way that you view this whole thing. It's not the case of following something for 2 weeks and having success long term. It doesn't work like that. Just like our job, isn't it? We don't go to work for 2 weeks, accumulate a lifetime's worth of wealth and pop our feet up and, sail off into the sunset. It's the accumulation of turning up every single day, clocking on and doing what's needed. Very much like a relationship as well. It continuously needs work. It continuously needs action. Ladies, like I said, tonight I didn't want to bombard you with too much information. And in my personal opinion, some of the best success that I've ever had in many, many aspects of my life is when an individual has just said one thing to me in a very simple format that just landed on my skull, made complete sense, very simple. And I think, oh, wow. Okay, so if I just do that, that'll happen. And then it happens. That's what I want this webinar to be for you. I want you to pull apart these simple tips. Even if you don't fully commit to everything that I've just said, even if you can take away a few of these things and just work on them over the next few days. Okay, Mitch said my diet needs to be more comprised of nutrient-dense food. I'm going to be more aware of that when I go to the grocery store. Mitch said that I should have structure with my meals. Structured eating times, breakfast, lunch, dinner, same time. I believe I can do that. Okay. Mitch said that I've got to get more proteins in my diet. Pull away tonight what you believe you can stick to and build on it. Because I truly believe that success is not built off being perfect every single day. Like I said, it's about being consistently average. But just as long as you are very well aware that the worst thing that you can do is nothing. If you sit still in one place and procrastinate, the only thing that you are doing is preventing yourself from having results. You are far better off, ladies, fumbling forward than you are to not start at all. Okay. Human beings, we've got this real sense, this fear of failure. And it's generally stemmed from our own self-doubt, a lack of information, or just not thinking long-term enough. Ladies, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I just want to say one more thing. Some of you are going to be able to take away the information that I gave to you tonight and have success. And I genuinely hope that you can, and I wish you all the best. But if you would like somebody to do all of that for you, every single thing that I just said in tonight's webinar, to place it out for you in a nice, easy format with coaching support, we would love to help you. Everybody works differently. I know myself, I'm an individual that doesn't necessarily work super well with just information. I'd like somebody to show me how to do it. because that way I can work on getting immediate results, getting the motivation straight away, and I like to learn as I go. So, ladies, like I said, I do want you to go onto my landing page anyway to go get your macros and your calories on my landing page right now so you can start your journey. And while you're there, if you're thinking to yourself, I do want the help. I do want to learn this. I do want coaching support. I want to be part of a community. We would love to have you on board. We've helped thousands of women worldwide in perimenopause and menopause lose weight and keep it off. And there's absolutely no reason why that can't be you as well. Ladies, as I said, thank you so much for tuning in. You're all amazing. Nonetheless, I appreciate all the support that you've given me. It's been an amazing ride the last few years, and I could not have done it without the support of all of you. By the way, if you are around a television tomorrow at about 8:40, I believe, myself, my wife, Riss are going to be on the Today Show. So that's going to be pretty cool. Very excited about that. And we're very much looking forward to getting the message out about perimenopause and menopause and how we believe that it just needs more support all around. All right, ladies, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And I really do hope to see you in the MLA community. And let's get the weight off. Good night.